Afternoon, one and all. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Scheidt on Facebook. We're also on YouTube as well, actually, for the first time. So for everyone watching on YouTube, welcome to the stream. I've got Euan and Blair with me today to run over the Premiership's games this weekend, or last weekend there. Euan, Blair, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Nice one.
I'm well, yeah. Only one year's team gets 3 points at the weekend, so
that's
lucky lads.
We can't argue with that, to be fair. All righty, we'll start at Tannadice yesterday, of course. Rangers with a 2-0 win in Dundee. Michael Beale, he continues his unbeaten run, of course. They had to be patient before getting the goals, but Fashion Sakala and Malik Tillman got the victory for the Gers, and that was the difference. It was a fast start in the second half that blew Dundee United away, and that was the difference in the game. Euan, you tuned in yesterday. What do you think of the match?
Yeah, I watched the game. It was pretty boring, to be honest. First half, nothing really happened. I think Dundee United probably had the best chance with Liam Smith.
Yeah.
Just before the break. I heard Michael Beale say after the game, I think he said they controlled the game, and I think Rangers certainly controlled it after the 2 goals, but I don't think they controlled the first half. So Rangers, 2 goals in 3 minutes. Other than that, not a lot happened in the game. I think Rangers did control the second half after they scored the 2 goals, and they've seen the game out pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
Another clean sheet for John McLaughlin to build on the one he got against Ross County. That was maybe the main talking point before the game in terms of team selection. Obviously, Kolak coming from Morelos as well. But yeah, it was a good 3 points for Rangers. It keeps the gap at 9 to Celtic, but you can't really see Celtic dropping points, can you? So Rangers have to win every week, but even if they do that, I think the title race is essentially over already.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question, actually, Euan, but I'll give it to you, Blair, about McLaughlin and McGregor at the start of the game. Michael Beale also coming out and saying that it was a sort of tactical decision. It was sort of game specific, but do you think there was a kind of deeper meaning behind it at all?
It's hard to read into it, isn't it? Quite possibly. McGregor's not anywhere near what he was even last season. He's obviously had some high-profile errors. So to be dropped after that, it kind of does seem like a statement, even if Beale's tried to play it down. And I know Beale's obviously as well said that he's not in the market for another goalkeeper, but I would suspect that maybe next season he will. Probably not. It's probably not a priority in January, but I would suspect that they'll want that situation sorted out rather than chopping and changing between McGregor and McLaughlin, who are at this moment not quite the level that they probably want. So I could see Rangers going out and maybe try to sign a goalkeeper in the summer. Yeah,
without doubt. Obviously, Connor Goldson again involved in handball controversy. He may as well be the goalkeeper this week, shouldn't he? Of course, the arm was extended, wasn't it, Euan? It is out a wee bit, but does that mean it should be a pen automatically? He can't do really anything about it with the cross coming in. There's a lot of bodies between them as well. Many are leaping to Golson's defence here. What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's never a penalty for me in a million years. I think when Michael Stewart said it wasn't a penalty, that's when you know it's probably not. When Rangers are involved, so I think that kind of gave it away. But the one at Celtic against Celtic last week was highly debatable. You can the IFAB rules say that it wasn't a penalty, but to me at the time I thought it was. But that doesn't matter. That's out of the way. Thank God for that. After a week of debate, but yeah, I don't think the one yesterday was a penalty.
Right.
The ball came. It came through so many bodies, and Golson's arm is down by his side. He's probably not expecting the ball to travel through to him anyway. He can't move his arm out of the way in that time. It was quite similar to the one on Saturday. I think it was Alex Gogic, Hearts Mirren game. It was pretty much identical to that almost. I don't think either of them were penalties. The problem now is, and I agree with what Ange Postecoglou said in his presser. The handball rule is just wild, isn't it? Nobody knows what's a penalty, what's not a penalty. There is no consistency. But that one to me is never a penalty, no.
Yeah, the interpretation, I don't think anyone can nail it down at all. Blair, are you in an agreement with you and it's not a pen?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that's a penalty. His arm's out a wee bit for balance, but I wouldn't say that's an unnatural position. And obviously, you can't see the ball coming over that crowded bodies. I'd also say, a point that's been raised by mostly Celtic fans, I think, is we've seen ones like that given earlier in the season, but surely if they're improving how they're handling it, that's a good thing. Just because they've got it wrong earlier in the season, that doesn't mean we want them to keep getting it wrong. If you know what I mean. And also, as you say, like that, it's so open to interpretation, the handball rule. Like people have been questioning why VAR's not came in there, but it's so open to interpretation that it's never a clear and obvious error, which is obviously what it takes for VAR to be used. So that's obviously why they didn't intervene with it as well.
Yeah, just a bit on United. Euan, they did hold firm for the first half, got to half time at 0-0, but then when Rangers came out and the intensity increased on their part and they couldn't really handle it in terms of the goals, too quick fire goals. Of course, they're not going to be judging these games really, but Liam Fox, he has improved the form a wee bit recently. Before that loss yesterday, I think they were unbeaten in 4 or 3. Do they have the personnel? We always speak about it this season, and the United have got a great squad, but they are still languishing down at the bottom of the table. Form has improved a wee bit. Can they continue that across the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the old adage, isn't it? Are Dundee United too good to go down? You hear it all the time that a team have got good players are kind of in a relegation battle. I think they are. You look at it, it's Motherwell, Dundee United and Ross County, I think. I'll leave Kilmarnock out of it at the moment, but they could probably get dragged in. That's your 4 that are in kind of danger of relegation this season, I think. And I don't think Dundee United will go down. I look at some other teams around there who I just don't think are as good as Dundee United. I think they played well for the first 45 minutes. I think they played really well for the first 45. Once Rangers went 2-0 up, you didn't see them getting back in the game. But like you said, I mean, they won't be judged against the results against Rangers and Celtic, and I think they'll be okay this season. They've looked better since the international breaks came back. Getting Stephen Fletcher fit and firing will be big for them. I don't think Tony Watt put in his best performance yesterday, but there's also a lot of speculation surrounding his future as well. He could probably feel hard done by getting dropped to the bench after obviously scoring the winner in recent weeks. So I think Dundee United will be fine this season. I do think they've got look at their players. They've got like Levitt, Fletcher. They've just got good players. I think they will be too good to go down.
Alrighty. Right, we'll go to Fir Park next. A 3-2 thriller there. Of course, yesterday, Hibs winning that one. Kevin Nisbet on fire with a hat-trick. Great to see him back firing all cylinders. Blair, that's 5 goals in 5 games. For him, it's just really good to see him doing so well after such a tough year out through injury, isn't it?
Yeah, it was like a sort of masterclass in centre forward play as well, wasn't it? Like the 3 goals were all really good movement. Obviously, the second one is a tap-in, but it's really good movement to be in that position in the first place. The first one he peels off and he's getting between the 2 defenders. McGeady finds him, he takes a great touch and finishes it, and then the third one is brilliant movement. He goes to the back post to leave the space, runs into the space, and then it's a really good finish in the top corner as well. So it's just all round really, really top quality centre forward play. And it's obviously looking a lot more like the Kevin Nisbet that we've seen in years gone by, not the one that was there before his injury last season. Yeah,
and Euan, Hibs, yesterday they played generally quite well. I thought McGeady was excellent. Porteous too, again, brilliant. Euan, he provides something on the wing, bit of pace, and he's got an assist in his locker as well. I think over the course of the season, they generally do control a lot of games. They have a lot of possession. I suppose now it's just finding that consistency, because I don't think they've really had that at all this season. They're going maybe two game winning runs and then maybe lose some, then draw a game, lose some. It's not very consistent, but you think now they'd like to come and sort of push on and find that consistency in the season.
Yeah, 100%. And you've got to remember as well, since coming back from the national break, they've had a tough run of games. They played Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, and Livy, I think it is.
Yeah.
And maybe another team I've forgotten off the top of my head. But so you've got to take that into consideration. I agree with what you said, guys. I think if you look at Hibs' squad, and if they had everyone fit, they've probably got a nucleus of 7 or 8 really good first team players. The problem is, and it's well documented, and Lee Johnson's not been shy in saying it, is they've got a lot of average kind of squad players who are about the same level and they don't really add much to the team. And their squad's far too big. They obviously have to cut that in January, and they've got to get their recruitment sorted out, because that's been the biggest problem at Hibs over the last few seasons, in my opinion. But if you look at it, they've got some decent players. Obviously, Porteous is going to be away. You'd expect in the window. I think Marshall's a good goalkeeper. Captain didn't play yesterday, but obviously I think he's fine at right back. Bashiri's been improved this season, maybe. In midfield, you've got Newell, who's decent. McGuinness, who I think is a good player. And if you had Boyle fit, obviously, but you've got Johan, McGeady, and Nisbet as your front three. That's decent. So I think it's just a case of giving Lee Johnson time. To be honest, I don't think Hibs should sack another manager. It's not worked with sacking Maloney and Ross. I think we need a bit of continuity. Didn't say that very well. And I just think Johnson deserves until the end of the season at least, and see where they are from there. They're not a million miles off where you'd expect them to finish this season. I don't think they're going to challenge Hearts for third, but they could easily get fourth.
Yeah, for sure. Blair, just on Motherwell, they came out in the second half and they did okay in the game. They got back into it, put Hibs under a wee bit of pressure, got their 2 goals. Wasn't enough in the end, of course. But you'd think, the 3 goals that they gave away, they were pretty avoidable. I think Stephen Hamill wasn't very happy in his post-match presser. The goals could have been, avoided.
Yeah, I've been thinking for a while now, a few weeks, that Motherwell, the way Motherwell's form was going, that they'd be the ones sucked into it with Ross County.
Right.
Obviously, when Stephen Hamill came in, a lot was made about how they were playing better football, but they were still conceding a lot of goals and still losing a lot of games. So, and that hasn't changed. It's basically continued right through. And they really look like they could be in trouble now. Obviously, Ross County are potentially worse, so that could be their only saving grace. But it does look like Motherwell at least heading to the relegation spot. Obviously, Dundee United are much improved, so they look like they could sort of get out of it. Obviously, the one thing that Hamill could use in his favour is the January window. I think he said quite early on in his reign that he needed to get players in, so he can only really be judged after he's had the chance to do that, to sort of fit into his style, because he does have a different style to Alexander. So once he can possibly get the players in to play that and maybe get an improvement, but as it stands, it's not looking great for them.
Yeah, Hamill is in a wee bit of baller just now. I think a lot of the Motherwell fans are really irritated. But as Blair says, he didn't get a chance to bring in his own players in the window in the summer. He sort of came in quite late. So he will be looking to this month hopefully bring in a couple of players and put his own stamp in the team. But defensively, they leave a lot to be desired, I think, as well. From when I've sort of watched them this season. They've got some decent players. He can't really get a tune out of this squad just now, can he? But he will be looking forward to sort of this month and getting a couple of players in, won't he?
Yeah, they have to. Actually, I think every manager kind of says the same when they take a job, isn't it? They all want to get their own players in.
Yeah.
But I think only 3 points off the bottom.
Yeah.
So that is a worry. I'm pretty sure they play Ross County at Fir Park in the next game as well.
That's right.
So let's just get the proverbial relegation 6-pointer out there. Nice and early. That's a massive game. If you win that, you move 6 points account. If you lose it, you're level. So you need a result there, and you can understand why fans are annoyed. They're in really poor form. They've got some decent players. I think they rely on Van Veen quite a lot.
I think so.
Whenever I seem to watch Marvel, I always kind of question their starting lineup. So I think Ross Tierney came off the bench yesterday and scored.
Aye. McKinstry as well. I think as well. He came off the bench.
Yeah, they seem to. They've got some alright players. I don't know. Defensively, like Stephen O'Donnell's been bombed, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He never plays anymore. Like a year ago, he was starting for Scotland. Now he can't get in for Motherwell, so you wonder about his future as well. I think they're going to be in a relegation battle this season. There's no getting away from that. So it's just going to come. It's going to be close, I think, at the bottom, and I think they'll be right in amongst it.
Alrighty. Right, we'll go to Celtic Park now. There really isn't too much to report on this one. A 2-0 win for Celtic. Celtic really wanted their best on Saturday, but they got the job done. They've played like a few times this season, just getting the win over the line. That I suppose is a mark of the champions that they are. But then they actually could have made it more comfortable in the second half. They had chances to go on and make it 3-4, but they couldn't take it. They weren't really troubled by Kilmarnock at all. But yeah, Blair, I suppose for Celtic really, it's just the 3 points are all important at this stage, and just keeping that gap between them and Rangers at the top.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of the way teams set up against them, particularly at Celtic Park, where they just come and sit in, and then it's up to Celtic to break them down. And as you say, there's been a number of games now this season where it's just a sort of routine Celtic win, like 2-0, and it often takes them until the second half to do that. But it'd be more worrying. I mean, it's not worrying at all. It'd be more worrying if they were unable to break them down and they weren't able to find the breakthrough. But they always do it, and it's usually by 2 or 3 goals as well. So they're always reasonably comfortable, and I think they'll just continue that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Euan, just a wee bit on Killie. Obviously, I watched the game, but they held their shape pretty well for the first 44 minutes, and then obviously the sickener before half time, they go 1-0 down. They've got Celtic again next week, of course, in the Cup semi-final at Hampden. For you, do they have any chance of a result?
No. No. sorry to Killie fans that have got attack. Of course they've got a chance, but you just think Celtic, and it's a big pitch at Hampden as well.
Even if they set up the same way, Celtic are going to still come at you eventually, aren't they?
Well, the thing is, even if Killie defend really well, like they did on Saturday by all accounts, I've not watched the full game, so can't comment completely on it. But I mean, you still expect Celtic to score, don't you?
Yeah.
So Killie have to score. So how unless it's a set piece or you're struggling to see how that happens. And I just think Celtic are too good. It's no slight against Killie, but Celtic players are multi-million pound players. Killie don't have that budget. It's a tale all the time. Like I just think Celtic are too good. Celtic's record at Hampden obviously is well documented as well. It's a struggle to see Killie getting something out of it. It really is. You expect Celtic to be in the final.
Yep, without doubt. Okay, Aberdeen 2, St Johnstone 0. That was on Saturday as well. Blair, Dukey's becoming a bit of a hero at Pittodrie this season, isn't he? He's got 9 goals now in the league this season. He's really pacey, really powerful, an eye for goal as well, of course. He's a real asset for Jim Goodwin, isn't he?
Yeah, it's 2 really good finishes from him again. It's sort of good timing as well because Majowski's obviously really seems to be off the boil at the minute, so it's probably a good thing for them that that Duke's sort of taking on the mantle as that main man getting them the goals. As you say, he really seems to have everything: pace, power, strength, finishing. It's really difficult for defences to deal with. And Aberdeen, obviously, they were struggling for a wee while there with the results, but I always sort of felt that they would get back on track at some point. I would still make them favourites for 4th, particularly if Duke carries on that form.
Yeah, you and Aberdeen have sort of arrested that worrying form. They only had 1 win in 7, but now they got that win on Saturday, a much needed win. But Graham Shinney, I think he's a great signing for Aberdeen, isn't he? And a lot of the fans are obviously really delighted at his return. He'll give the dressing room a big lift, no doubt, with his leadership qualities. I suppose now for Jim Goodwin, just generally, he will be keen to try and keep pace with Hearts. I think he's only maybe 2 or 3 points behind Hearts, despite their worrying form. But that will be the remit for Goodwin going forward in this season.
Yeah, I mean, I tipped Aberdeen to finish 3rd this season. I expect them to finish 4th now, but I think Hearts are a better team than Aberdeen. I think they've got better players. I think the only real worry for Hearts would be injury problems.
Right.
That's the only reason I can see them not finishing 3rd. I think they've just got better players than Aberdeen. Before the season, you maybe worried a little bit about how Hearts would cope with the demands of European football, but they've done well in the first half of the season to being around that 3rd place, and I think they'll kick on now, and I think they will finish 3rd. But yeah, Aberdeen, I think Shinney's a unbelievable signing, to be honest. I'm surprised. You probably wonder, will he take the captaincy up straight away? It's also a difficult one for Goodwin because Anthony Stewart's got the armband. He's don't want to unsettle the dressing room, take it off. And there's also that kind of Joe Lewis sort of deja vu situation a couple of seasons ago. But a lot of Aberdeen fans are maybe not fully convinced on Stewart, even to be in the starting 11. But it seems that Goodwin is. But Shinney's a real leader, and I think his return is massive for Aberdeen. It kind of came out of the blue, didn't it? You didn't really expect it. You heard there's also reports emerged, and then within a couple of hours you see them holding the top back up. But I think he's a cracking signing for them, and he'll really add to the squad.
Yeah. Just on St Johnstone, Blair, the 2 goals that they conceded, they looked pretty meek defensively. Callum Davison came out after the game and wasn't very happy with the goals. Otherwise, he played okay. But yeah, they went 6 games unbeaten, but they've now lost 4 in a row, conceding 10, and they've got both the Old Firm within the next 5 games. Could they be dragged back into the relegation scrap?
Yeah, they're a very, very streaky team, aren't they? I would say no. I don't think they'll be dragged back into it.
Right.
Obviously, as you say, they've got tough games coming up, which they'll probably lose. But you always fancy them just to go on another run like they did.
Right.
Obviously, they started the season okay and then went on a poor run, and then improved and had a really good run. So there's kind of like Motherwell have been the last couple of years where they're just very, very streaky, and it sort of evens itself out over the season, and usually they can get themselves out of it with a decent run. They've got decent players. Jamie Murphy actually missed a really good chance at 1-1 in this game, which obviously could have changed things. But I think they have got the players to get themselves out of it. It's a strange one, being so leaky in defence, because they obviously do sort of pride themselves on their defensive work.
Right.
So that's probably a concerning thing for Callum Davison. But just the way he always has them set up, you think it's the sort of thing that he'll be able to iron out as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1 in Paisley on Saturday 2. Euan, Stephen Robinson claimed sort of after the game that St Mirren should have been out of sight at half time. They got fortunate with the strain goal, very fortunate actually with the free kick that put them ahead, but they really only had one big other chance in the first half. So I'm not too sure where Robinson's sort of coming from that one. But yeah, just a stat that I picked as well just before we went live. It's incredible that they've actually only had an average of 36% possession in all the games this season, and they're doing so well in the league. I think a lot of people sort of tipped them to struggle at the start of the season. But that sort of style where they don't have a lot of possession, it generally seems to be working for Robinson. I mean, a point against Hearts isn't the worst at home, is it?
Yeah, I think Hearts had, was it 75% of the ball during the game? I mean, the Alex Grieve chance is the one I think we're talking about, isn't it? The big chance that Alex Grieve had. He's got to do better, but I mean, I only watched the highlights, but you'd say a point was probably fair on reflection. But I'm pretty sure St Mirren's home record this season is unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's a hard place to go, get a cliche out of the way, but I mean, it's also their tactic, isn't it, to kind of maybe give up possession and then look to hit in the break. They obviously play with 2 strikers the majority of the time as well. And Stephen Robinson did a cracking job at St Mirren. They're in no danger of going down this season. Their aspirations for the remainder of the season will probably be to finish in the top 6.
Yep.
And they've got a decent chance of doing it. So I think you've got to give them a huge amount of credit, because their budget won't be that big compared to maybe teams that are around them in the league at the moment. So he's done a fantastic job. The recruitment's been really, really good. I think Bacchus is obviously the one that stands out. He's also been linked with a move away in this window. Ethan Erehon as well, another player who's been linked with a move away. So it'll be interesting to see if those 2 players stay at Paisley come end of January. And if they do leave, will Robinson get that money to reinvest in the squad? Because you'd have to look at it at the moment, and he probably deserves to, because his recruitment has been good.
Yep, without doubt. Just on Hearts, Blair, as Euan said, they had 74% possession in that game in Paisley, but they really only created one sort of big chance, maybe 1 or 2 big chances in the whole game. Despite that possession, I suppose it just really wasn't their day in the end in Paisley. But a point isn't the worst result. They didn't lose. Yeah,
it was a really poor first half. Although I felt like it was more down to St Mirren, just to carry on the credit that we're giving them there. I felt like it was more down to the way they set up.
Right.
They really nullified the way Hearts played. They were clearly targeting Robert Snodgrass after he obviously ran the Hibs game. So every time he got the ball, he couldn't turn, he couldn't do anything with it, because they were right on top of him. They weren't letting him sort of dictate play. So I just felt they were sort of stifling Hearts, and then as soon as Hearts changed their shape in the second half, that's when it started to really get better. And there was a 15-minute spell where Hearts were looking pretty dangerous, and they could have potentially scored more. And like you said, I was thinking that during the game, they kept bringing this possession stats up, and I was thinking that's really one of these instances where you can say that possession stats don't tell you the story, because The first half, especially, they were literally doing nothing with it. They had about 75% possession at that time, and they were doing nothing with it. But I wouldn't get too overly concerned about it from a Hearts point of view. As I say, it's more down to the way St Mirren stifled them, I would have said.
Yeah, fair points. Just quickly, Euan, on sort of late red card for Marcus Fraser. That was such a silly, bizarre sort of challenge, wasn't it? And that's going to be banned for 3 games now. We're coming under the sort of violent conduct punishment. It was just a sort of bizarre red card, wasn't it, Euan?
Yeah, it's a moment of madness. I don't know what he was doing. There's no complaints about the red card. It's clear as red as you see. I think that George Grant, I think the Hearts player was.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking he's pretty lucky to get away with that unscathed because he didn't catch him fully, but I mean, you look at it, that could have been a bad injury to him there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no complaints about the decision. It was a clear red card.
Yeah, without doubt. Okay, last one of the weekend. It was Ross County 8-0, Livingston 2 up in Dingwall. Blair, just on Bruce Anderson, he's only played 13 games this season and not a lot of minutes, quite a lot of substitute appearances for him. But he's got 4 goals and he does make an impact when he's involved. I saw him when he played at Rugby Park a few weeks ago. Actually, it was before the World Cup break, and he was really, really nice, really good in the ball. And he scored a great goal there as well. And again, 2 pretty outstanding goals on Saturday in Dingwall. He's a good player for Livingston, isn't
he? Yeah, I really like him. I've been a bit confused as to why he's been in and out of the team. Obviously, had a really good season last season. I don't think he's had like an injury or anything like that, so I don't really know why he's not started that many games. But Saturday just showed exactly what he's all about. Sort of a buzzball up front, runs at people, runs about, Harry's defenders. But he's also got quality, as he showed with the 2 finishes. And obviously, you would imagine after that performance that he'll keep his place in this team for now. Anyway, obviously they've got Newbley as well, but he often plays out wide. I think we sometimes even play Andrew Shinnie as a striker who's a midfielder. So it does baffle me a wee bit with the situation with Anderson.
Yeah, and Euan, Livingston, they're up to 5th now. It was David Martindale's 100th game in charge of Livy on Saturday. Obviously celebrating it with a win, another clean sheet as well. You know, Livingston have been pretty solid defensively this season. He's just done a really good job, isn't he? Just brilliant with the budget they've got. He's got to be praised.
Yeah, I mean, pound for pound, he's probably done the best job in Scotland, given his budget, and he punched above their weight. I don't think anyone argues with that now.
Yeah.
Again, for like Livy, just like what I said for St Mirren, I think top 6 will be their target now. Obviously, they were agonisingly close to getting there last season, wasn't it? I think it was Ricky Lamy popped up. Was that the season before?
Right, yeah.
Well, last season, definitely last season.
That was last season, yeah.
Ricky Lamy popped up with a header against his former club to kind of to kill their dreams. But I mean, for Livy to be in the top 6, like I don't, they've probably got the lowest budget in the league, I'd say. I think Ross County probably spent a little bit more than them. So so for where they are to be in the top 6 with the lowest budget, it's remarkable what Martindale's doing. Everyone says it. You can only keep repeating what you say. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, and Blair, just quickly on sort of Ross County, another game without a goal, and they're comfortably the lowest scorers in the league as well. And I dug out this stat just before we went live. It was they miss 84% of big chances that they create, which is incredible. And that was the case, I think, on Saturday as well. You know, they had chances to go on and score a couple of goals, but you know, Malky Mackay ends up ruining those chances at the end of the game. They should have plenty more goals this season. I think they've got a decent team. They've got decent pacey wingers as well. Edwards, he's pretty good, but and White, I mean, he's a threat up front as well. He's physical. He's got an eye for goal. But it's just really not working out for Ross County this season at all, is it?
Yeah, similar to Motherwell, where you've just been looking at their form for a while and you've just really worried about them. They just don't look like getting results from anywhere. From the highlights in this game, they did create chances. I think there was Cancola had the worst one where he seemed to have the goal. The goalie was there, but he almost still had the goal at his mercy. I think about 8 yards out, and he never even hit the target. He put it past the post. So they just don't seem to have a cutting edge, a sort of an aggressiveness in the box, a belief that they're going to score goals. So when you have that, you're going to be struggling, and obviously they concede goals as well. So it's not a great recipe.
Yeah, and just lastly, Euan, historically, like Ross County, funds are kind of made available for the county sort of managers, mid-season in January. Roy McGregor does like to back the club when they are sort of in need. Would you expect that to happen sort of this month, given the sort of predicament that they're in?
Yeah, I think we'll be bringing a few players for sure. You need to as well. I think County were so good last season. You thought, and when you look at their summer recruitment on paper, you thought it was pretty decent. So I expected them to do well again this season. They've not been good enough at all. They'll need to bring in a couple of players, I think, in January and hope that they can avoid relegation. But like we said earlier, it's so close at the moment. The bottom, nobody's cut adrift, and there's probably every team below St Johnstone you think could get dragged into it. Even St Johnstone, if they, like you said, guys, they've got a tough run of games. If the teams below them pick up a couple of wins during that run, then they may get dragged back into it as well. So I think Ross County won't be overly concerned at the moment, but the more the season goes on, and if they don't get out of it, it's a problem. But yeah, I think McGregor will give Malcolm Mackay a few quid in January for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I just say it's so tight, but that's what the cinch is about, and that's why we like it. The Premiership. All right, Euan, Blair, thanks very much for joining me today on the live. For everyone watching on Facebook, Twitter as well, and of course YouTube for the first time, thanks very much for watching. That'll be up now on the channel, so feel free to watch it any time you like. But for now, thanks very much for watching. We'll be back soon with another episode. But for now, cheers for watching, and we'll see you all soon.